Hotep, everybody. We have new developments in the protests going on in Los Angeles, California. It is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. I'm historian and national political commentator Michael Imhotep, reporting for the African History Network show. Governor Gavin Newsom did a fantastic interview on MSNBC on June 9th, 2025. And some of the things he talked about were the fact that he and the state attorney general for California are going to sue the Trump administration over sending the National Guard into Los Angeles, California. Also, he revealed that he had a conversation with President Donald Trump Friday about 10:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Donald Trump did not say he was going to send in the National Guard. This is after the protests actually started. Okay, so we have a lot to update you on. We're going to show more of this interview that Jacob Soboroff did with Governor Gavin Newsom on MSNBC.
I'm inside the Emergency Operations Center run by the County of Los Angeles here with Governor Gavin Newsom. Governor, thanks for joining us live on MSNBC.
Good to be with you.
So this is, as I said, the Emergency Operations Center. I wonder how you would characterize the events that are unfolding in Los Angeles right now. Is it an emergency? Is it, Fox News is calling it the LA riots? Is it a peaceful protest? What's happening? What are you seeing?
Well, I mean, look, Donald Trump has created the conditions you see on your TV tonight. He's exacerbated the conditions. He's, lit the proverbial match. He's putting fuel on this fire ever since he announced he was taking over the National Guard. An illegal act, an immoral act, an unconstitutional act, and we're going to test that theory with a lawsuit tomorrow.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Sorry to interrupt you, but Governor, so that's news. If you're going to sue the administration, tell me a little bit about it. Give us a preview of this lawsuit.
Well, under his executive order, it specifically notes, and under what the DOD did, is they had to coordinate with the governor of the state. They never coordinate with the governor of the state. I've worked with the National Guard. We've deployed the National Guard. We did 3,000+ folks have been doing logistics work and fire recovery work, and they're fighting the fires, the rattlesnake teams. We did the same back in George Floyd. We have no problem working collaboratively in a mutual aid system with local law enforcement, but there's a protocol, there's a process. He didn't care about that. And the worst part, he completely lied. He said in a tweet that everything's now safe, everything's fine. Is that the case, Mr. Trump? He said because he deployed the National Guard. The Guard hadn't even been deployed when he said this. It's Orwellian. Simply lying to people. Unconstitutional, illegal act. His mess. We're trying to clean it up.
You're saying that the President of the United States has made the situation on the ground here in Los Angeles less safe. What do you know about immigration enforcement today? Has there been any ICE raids in the city today? Are they coordinating with you on that at all? Are they giving you a heads up?
Of course they're not coordinating. That said, we were told in just a recent briefing just a few minutes ago there was small activity in the county and not in the city proper. But look, you made a point a moment ago. These images are unacceptable. These kids on the car, the folks that are taking advantage of this, these aren't peaceful protesters, a lot of these folks, a lot of great people out there doing the right thing. But you get these insurgent groups coming in, sort of these anarchists that are in there to create real problems. And they're just playing right into Donald Trump's hand. And they need to be called out. They need to be arrested. It is wrong to destroy other people's property, and it is wrong to create the conditions that only exacerbate this. But Donald Trump, at the end of the day, is the sponsor of these conditions.
Let me give you the opportunity. You mentioned that there are people out there causing mischief and mayhem. What's your message to those people who are out there tonight? Not the peaceful protesters that are out there protesting for the rights of immigrants, but for the people that are doing damage to buildings, to law enforcement out there.
Well, they're doing more than damage to buildings and to property. They're potentially damaging the very foundation of our republic. The democracy is in the balance. I mean, you're seeing these authoritarian tendencies now are being acted out by this administration. And we're case in point as it relates to nationalizing, federalizing the National Guard, threatening now to put in Marines. So I hope these people would pause and just consider. Now, some of them, they want that kind of chaos. In some ways, they're adjacent to where Donald Trump is. But the peaceful protesters, we want to keep them safe. We want them to exercise their fundamental rights. We want to keep those that are enforcing the laws in a respectful and responsible way also safe. But Donald Trump needs to pull back. He needs to stand down. Donald Trump is inflaming these conditions. This is Donald Trump's problem right now, and if he can't solve it, we will.
He continues to, as always, hit you hard publicly. Just 10 minutes ago, he put out another Truth Social telling you and the mayor to apologize to the people of Los Angeles. You guys go at it pretty hard publicly, but I know you talk privately. Have you spoken in the last couple of days to the president about any of this?
Yeah, we talked for almost 20 minutes, and this issue never came up. I mean, I kept trying to talk about L.A. He wanted to talk about all these other issues. We had a very decent conversation.
When was this?
This was late Friday night, I think about 1:30 plus his time.
After the protests had started here?
After the protests, and he never once brought up the National Guard. He's a stone-cold liar. He said he did. Stone-cold liar. Never did. It was a very civil conversation. I've always wanted to approach engagement with the President of the United States in a respectful and responsible way. But there's no working with the President. There's only working for him. And I will never work for Donald Trump.
Did you mention at all to him in that phone call on Friday night the types of raids that were happening in your state on Friday? You know, there are reports that and video of enforcement operations happening in ways that they haven't traditionally. ICE officers going to Home Depots around Los Angeles and picking off day laborers. Did you bring that up with him?
The conversation started with the frame of what's happening in L.A. He immediately pivoted to other interests and other things.
Do you think he was aware of what was happening in Los Angeles?
I think I'm more than aware. And obviously, he was setting this up to take these additional steps.
This was a setup.
And I'm not saying he was setting things up. I'm not saying it was a setup. But clearly, they were in the process of moving to these next steps because out of nowhere, just a few hours after that conversation, he moves to pull the trigger under this construct under Title 10 and then created and exacerbated the conditions that are persisting today.
This is your authority normally to deploy the National Guard here.
Right.
You did it. We were together after the fires, and those National Guard troops have been out all across Los Angeles working to rebuild and recover this city. How did you find out that the President of the United States was going to usurp your authority and deploy your National Guard here in California?
I got a call from a staffer. No heads up whatsoever. And again, we're here to support local law enforcement. There's a mutual aid process. Local law enforcement had no needs. They were not requesting any additional resources. I've got 100 now. I have 175 CHP officers, technically trained officers, tactical teams to address Donald Trump's mess. We are here to support local law enforcement, the sheriff's office, LAPD, but they didn't need that support. He made this up. This is a manufactured crisis in order to get under the tent to start to stretch credulity and to begin the process of moving inevitably towards a constitutional questioning crisis around posse comitatus. And it's, I think, inevitable. That's where he's going.
Tom Homan, the border czar, said to me yesterday he did not rule out literally arresting you, nor Mayor Bass, if you interfere in his work. He said you hadn't yet.
He's a tough guy. Why doesn't he do that? He knows where to find me. But you know what? Let your hands off 4-year-old girls that are trying to get educated. Let your hands off these poor people who are just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes, been here 10 years. The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
But let's go to some updates first, coming from the Washington Post. Now, we see in a sharp escalation, the Trump administration doubled its National Guard deployment to Los Angeles on Monday night, June 9th, 2025, pushing the number of assigned military personnel from 2,000 up to 4,800. And we know that 700 Marines have been ordered as well. Originally, it's going to be 500 Marines. Now it's going to be 700 Marines. And you're going to have a total of 4,100 National Guardsmen. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom called on Donald Trump to, quote, rescind your illegal order immediately. Rescind your illegal order immediately and pledged to file another lawsuit against the Trump administration over sending in Marines after California sued on Monday over the deployment of the National Guard. Police and protesters faced off downtown as demonstrations over immigration raids continued. LA residents denounced the Trump administration's actions as an assault on the city's core values. So we are seeing things intensify in Los Angeles. We know that Mayor Karen Bass was on the Rachel Maddow show, also on Monday, June 9th as well, saying that the presence of the National Guard was totally unnecessary and it was actually inciting protests. It was making things much worse.
I can't emphasize enough the level of fear and terror that is in Angelenos right now. He talked about violent criminals, drug dealers. How do you go from a drug dealer to chasing people through the parking lot of a Home Depot where there's day laborers working? This entire situation is what leaves us believing that we're being used as a test case.
Our own Jacob Soboroff has the details about how exactly we got to this point.
President Trump suggested he's open to arresting Governor Gavin Newsom.
I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
Tom is Tom Homan, the president's border czar. Over the weekend, Homan and Newsom throwing jabs at one another during interviews with NBC News. Homan saying anyone who breaks the law by standing in the way of immigration enforcement could be arrested, even Newsom or LA Mayor Karen Bass.
I'll say it about anybody. You cross that line. It's a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien. It's a felony to impede law enforcement from doing their job.
That led to this reaction from Newsom, who I met up with last night at the Los Angeles County Emergency Operations Center.
So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
Today, Homan clarifying his comments.
They haven't crossed the line, but they're not above the law either. If they commit a crime, they certainly ask for prosecution. That's what was happening. I never threatened to arrest Governor Newsom.
Okay. Let's look at some of the latest updates here coming from the Washington Post, New York Times, and NBC News. Now, protests around downtown Los Angeles appeared to quiet overnight, over Monday night, June 9th, 2025, after demonstrators clashed with police in front of the federal building on Monday evening. Some protesters lobbed water and set off fireworks while police fired less lethal weapons and flashbangs. Donald Trump ordered the mobilization of an additional 2,000 California National Guard troops on Monday evening, threatening to escalate his standoff with Governor Gavin Newsom. Hours earlier, the Pentagon mobilized 700 active duty Marines to the Los Angeles area. It was not immediately clear when the additional federal troops would arrive. Governor Gavin Newsom on Monday said he would challenge the legality of the Marines' deployment, criticizing it on social media as a, quote, blatant abuse of power, a blatant abuse of power. Now, earlier in the day, Governor Gavin Newsom launched a lawsuit challenging the activation of the California's National Guard without his consent. In San Francisco, California, police said that at about midnight, they detained multiple people after two small groups of demonstrators splintered off from, quote unquote, overwhelmingly peaceful protest and committed acts of vandalism. A Washington Post photographer saw at least one person being detained as other protesters sat on the floor. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom is to send 800 additional law enforcement officers to Los Angeles, California. He said this in a statement on Monday. His office is working to send 800 additional state and local law enforcement officers to the Los Angeles region as the standoff intensifies with Donald Trump, whose immigration raids in Los Angeles sparked the ongoing protests. And this goes back to Friday, June 6th. Governor Gavin Newsom said, quote, chaos is exactly what Trump wanted. Now we are sending in hundreds more law enforcement to pick up the pieces, end quote, Governor Gavin Newsom said. So this goes back, as we reported Sunday morning, June 9th. This goes back, the protests that we see go back to Friday, June 6th. Immigration authorities and demonstrators in Los Angeles, California, clashed with the unrest beginning Friday, June 6th, after dozens of people were detained by federal immigration agents across different locations. The arrests come amid Donald Trump's crackdown on immigration, which has involved waves of raids and deportations across the country. Okay, so if we look here at, I want to go to the New York Times. Okay, let's look at the live updates from NBC News. 700 Marines will deploy as immigration protests continue. And we see that at least 56 people were arrested this past weekend as protesters were ordered to leave downtown and law enforcement shot less lethal rounds. Demonstrators spilled out onto the 101 freeway while others set fire to Waymo driverless cars. So how did we get here? Protests erupted after immigration customs enforcement officers carried out raids on Friday in 3 locations across Los Angeles, where dozens of people were taken into custody. Governor Gavin Newsom called the raids, quote unquote, chaotic federal sweeps that aim to fill an arbitrary arrest quota. Quote unquote, an arbitrary arrest quota. He also said over the weekend that Governor Gavin Newsom described the order of 2,000 National Guard coming into Los Angeles as, quote unquote, purposely inflammatory, saying that the federal government was mobilizing the National Guard, quote, not because there is a shortage of law enforcement, but because they want a spectacle, end quote. If we look at the reporting from the Washington Post, 700 Marines deployed to LA as Trump mobilizes 2,000 more National Guard troops. The Pentagon on Monday ordered a battalion of 700 Marines to Los Angeles and mobilized an additional 2,000 National Guard troops as protests of the Trump administration's immigration policy spilled into a 4th day, escalating a confrontation between the White House and the country's most populous state. Now, the Marines summoned as infantry, the Marines summoned from an infantry unit, typically trained for overseas warfare, will assist about 1,700 National Guard members that Donald Trump already deployed to the city. Roughly 2,100 have been activated so far for the mission, according to the Defense Department. The deployments follow demonstrations against immigration raids that at times turn violent. The additional National Guard members and Marines announced Monday pushed the number of military personnel designated for duty in Los Angeles to close to 5,000, a rapid escalation by the Trump administration. Okay, so we'll keep you up to date on what's going on in Los Angeles. We have to pay close attention to this. And it's interesting that these raids are not taking place in any Republican-dominated cities, or Republican-controlled and dominated states, because undocumented immigrants work in those places as well. It's very interesting. And why aren't they conducting raids at Donald Trump's casinos and his resorts and golf courses, things of that nature? Because we know he was busted previously in the first Trump administration for having undocumented immigrants working at his places of business as well. I'm historian and national political commentator Michael Imhotep, reporting for the African History Network show. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can also support us through Cash App and PayPal, $ the AHN show through Cash App, through PayPal, and through PayPal, $ the AHN show through Cash App, and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Remember, right now is correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.